Today we'll look at two cave stories that ended horribly. The first is an unprecedented event, the breathtaking collapse that four young adventurers faced in Mexico's Cave of Swallows in 1985. Narrow passages, hidden dangers, and a race-against-time rescue operation. Don't miss the second. In Slovenia's Krakovska Jama Cave, the passionate adventure of photographers Kael and Miren, captivated by nature's wild beauty, turns into a disaster due to a single mistake. Bats, darkness, and a rope that's either a lifeline or a chain. Share your thoughts in the comments. A crisp October morning in 1985, the sun just breaking over the humid jungles of Quintana Roo, Mexico. Dew clings to the leaves, and a heavy silence blankets the forest, as if nature itself knows something's about to happen. Four young adventurers, Carlos Mendez, Alejandro Ruiz, Tomas Delgado, and Esteban Morales, stand at the shadowy entrance of Swallow's Cave. This isn't just any cave, it's a local legend. Its tight passages and uncharted depths, a siren call for explorers, yet a maze of hidden dangers. That morning, its mystery pulls these four friends into its depths. Would you leave the comfort of your home for a thrill like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Carlos and Alejandro are no strangers to caves. They've navigated treacherous terrains before, knowing exactly what gear matters and how to respect nature's unpredictable ways. Tomas and Esteban, though, are newer to this world. Driven by passion and youthful courage, they're eager to dive in, despite their limited experience. The plan? Explore the cave's main tunnels and map its secrets. But then, a collapsed hole in the northern wall catches their eye, and everything changes. After a tense pause, Carlos makes a call. Tomas, Esteban, check out that hole. Alejandro and I will head to the lower gallery. What do you think? Was that the right move? By 10:15 a.m., the group splits. Carlos and Alejandro descend deeper, while Tomas and Esteban kneel at the edge of the jagged hole. The ground is slick, coated in muddy rock that sinks under their steps. This was a silent warning. To them, it's not just a challenge, it's an invitation to uncover what lies below. With headlamps glowing, ropes tied tight, and curiosity guiding their hands, they ease themselves down. For a moment, all is calm, but nature doesn't play by human rules. In a split second, everything changes. The hidden danger reveals itself. Words can barely capture what happened next. Without a sound or sign, the earth gave way. The ground, too weak to hold Tomas and Esteban, crumbled beneath them. Tons of rock and soft soil crashed down in a deafening roar, their screams swallowed by the darkness. By the time Carlos and Alejandro raced back, the hole was gone, sealed by a wall of debris. In that moment, Carlos knew splitting the team was a mistake, but it was too late. The cave had claimed two of their own. When they reached the site, only a heap of rock and earth stared back. Alejandro's voice cracked with panic. Tomas? Esteban? Can you hear me? But it was too late. The cave had claimed two of their own. When they reached the site, only a heap of rock and earth stared back. Alejandro's voice cracked with panic. Tomas? Esteban? Can you hear me? Silence answered, broken only by the faint scrape of shifting stones. In an instant, Swallow's Cave turned from an adventure playground into the heart of a desperate rescue mission. Panic gripped the team like a vice. Carlos and Alejandro scrambled to the surface, calling for help. The cave was known to local park rangers, and soon, rescue teams swarmed the site. But this was no simple operation. The cave's fragile structure threatened to collapse again with every move. One wrong step could spell disaster. The ground was weaker than it looked, and the rescuers knew it. They were preparing themselves to the rescue operation on the surface. Tents were set up. Leading the charge was Rosa Villalobos, a seasoned cave rescue expert who understood Quintana Roo's volcanic terrain like the back of her hand. Beneath the surface, air pockets and loose rock layers could give way with the slightest tremor. A single misstep could bury everyone. Rosa's orders were clear. No rushing. Every move must be precise. Time was their enemy. No one knew if Thomas and Esteban were alive, but for cavers, hope is as tough as stone. The team braced themselves for the fight ahead, knowing every second could mean life or death. The rescuers mapped the collapse and chose the safest spot to dig. Electric tools were too risky. One vibration could trigger another cave-in. Instead, they used hand tools, slow and steady. Rosa ordered a small hole drilled, just enough to listen for signs of life. Around 12:30 p.m., they slid a thin tube with a microphone into the darkness. The silence was suffocating. Minutes dragged like hours. Then, a faint muffled voice broke through. "Esteban!" The team froze, hearts racing. They were alive. The technician pulled off his headset and nodded. They're there, but the voice is weak. This wasn't just a rescue. It was a race against time. Beneath the surface, air pockets and loose rock layers could give way with the slightest tremor. A single misstep could bury everyone. Rosa's orders were clear. No rushing. Every move must be precise. Time was their enemy. The rocks were so hard that breaking them by hand was almost impossible. They needed to find a professional way to reach the cavers trapped under the collapse. No one knew if Thomas and Esteban were alive. Inside, the situation was grim. Thomas lay on his back, a massive rock pinning his leg. Esteban, a few feet away, was trapped face down, barely able to move. Yet Esteban clung to consciousness, a lifeline for their survival. When his whispered, "Water," crackled through the microphone, it hit the team like a punch. Water was critical to fight hypothermia and keep them alert. Outside, the only sounds were the careful scraping of rocks being moved. Santiago Iraera, a volunteer caver, worked at the collapse site, clearing stones by hand. The goal reached Tomas's trapped leg. Each rock was heavy, but movable if done with care. One wrong move could shift the pile and end it all. Santiago pressed on, knowing the stakes. By 2:15 p.m., as the wind whispered through the trees outside, every breath inside was measured. Esteban's voice grew fainter. Tomas hadn't made a sound. To an outsider, giving up might seem tempting, but cavers don't just walk through darkness. They make their own light. At 2:40 p.m., a massive rock was hoisted away, revealing a sight that reignited hope. Tomas' leg was trapped, but he wasn't lifeless. His pulse was weak, but there. Moments later, they reached Esteban shivering from early hypothermia, but alive. Both were carefully strapped to stretchers. The team fought through narrow passages to bring them to the surface. The teamwork was yielding results. At 3:10 p.m., Tomas saw daylight. 15 minutes later, Esteban followed. No cheers rang out, just tears and a heavy silence. The exhausted rescuers knew their work had paid off. 2 lives were saved. Tomas and Esteban spent weeks recovering, thankfully with no lasting injuries. The incident reshaped cave rescue protocols in Mexico, exposing the fragility of volcanic caves. The ground may look solid, but beneath, it can crumble with a touch. This story is a stark reminder of nature's power and the need for preparation. If Carlos and Alejandro hadn't called for help so quickly, or if Rosa's team hadn't been so disciplined, this could have ended in tragedy. Esteban's faint "water," a whisper from the dark, gave the team the strength to keep going. That voice showed just how fierce the will to survive can be. Swallows'Cave isn't just a story of disaster. It's a testament to human resilience and teamwork. Caves guard ancient secrets, but those secrets can come at a steep price. This was a test of both nature's limits and human spirit. Esteban's whispered plea was a spark in the darkness. Rosa's team turned it into reality. Every cave has a story. And in 1985, Swallows'Cave told one of survival against all odds. What do you think? Could you face a challenge like this? Share your thoughts below. Deep in Slovenia's rugged mountains, Krakovska Jama, a jagged scar in the earth, swallowed the faint light of a stormy sky. Rain hammered the rocks, and a chilling wind carried warnings that went unheeded. Kael, a photographer captivated by nature's untamed beauty, gripped his camera strap, his calloused hands steady with purpose. He chased snow leopards through the Alps. He captured condors soaring over the Andes. But caves, they were his obsession. Their silent secrets and unyielding stone called to him like nothing else. Today he stood at the edge of this legendary cavern known for its bats, his lens ready to capture their dance in the dark, a moment that could define his career. Beside him was Miren, her eyes flickering with curiosity and a hint of dread. Open meadows filled with wiles were her world, not this claustrophobic realm of shadow and stone. But Kael's passion was contagious. "It's going to be incredible," he promised, his voice brimming with excitement. Her love for him quieted her fears. If only just as Kael clipped a carabiner to her harness, he made the biggest mistake of his life. Was the rope between them a lifeline or the threat of a tragedy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Miren's headlamp flickered as they stepped into the cave's icy embrace. The darkness felt like another world. Kael moved with confidence, his eyes scanning for the flutter of back wings. The walls shimmered with moisture, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient rock. Miren followed, cautious, the rope taut between them as they navigated a narrowing passage. Limestone brushed their shoulders, the silence broken only by tripping water and the soft clink of gear. Kael's pulse quickened with anticipation. Krakovska was notorious. Its twisting paths and sudden drops had claimed lives before. He'd studied its maps, memorized its dangers, and believed he was prepared. Mirroring, though, was unaware of the risks. She trusted Kael completely. They reached the bat chamber, a vast cavern like a cathedral carved by time. Thousands of bats cloned to the ceiling, their eyes glinting like embers in the glow of their headlamps. Kael's breath caught. This was the moment he dreamed of. He set up his camera, adjusting the lens with reverence. Mirroring stood close, her awe mixed with unease as the bats stirred restlessly. The air felt heavy, alive with unseen eyes. Kael's shutter clicked, a small sound, but enough to capture the bats in this darkness. He needed a long exposure. Would you take that risk? As he fiddled with his camera, one bat took flight, then another. Suddenly, the chamber exploded into chaos, a whirlwind of wings and piercing screeches, a living shadow that devoured the light. Miren's breath caught, her hands clutching the cold rock as panic surged. Kael, she cried, her voice cutting through the frenzy. He turned, startled, but it was too late. A bat grazed her face and terror took over. She bolted, slipping on slick limestone, the rope jerking Kael forward. "Miren, stop!" he shouted, but his words were lost in the chaos. Her foot caught on a jagged ledge and she fell, her scream echoing through the cavern. The rope meant to keep them safe became a chain, pulling Kael toward the abyss. Their fall was short but brutal, wedging them into a narrow crevice, the walls closing like a trap. Miren lay pinned below, her body twisted, her head left flickering like a fading star. Blood seeped from a gash on her leg, pooling in the dim light. Her moans grew faint, the cave's chill sinking into her skin. Kael clung to the rope, pain searing his shoulder as he fought to hold them steady. He called her name, his voice raw, but her responses weakened, swallowed by the oppressive silence. The bat settled, leaving a stillness heavier than before. Panic clawed at Kael, threatening to cloud his mind. He'd navigated tight spaces before, but this was different. The rope, once a symbol of their connection, now felt like a noose. His mind raced. He had a knife, a spare headlamp, a small first aid kit, but no way to call for help. Their phones were useless. They cave, a tomb that blocked all signals. Trembling, he reached for his knife, weighing a terrible choice. Cutting the rope might free him to save her, but it could send Miren deeper into the crevice's merciless grip. Every option felt like a betrayal. He cut the rope, each slice of wound to his promise. It snapped, and Miren slid a few inches, her moan piercing the dark. Dread flooded Kael. Had he doomed her? Wedged against the slick walls, he strained to reach her. His fingers brushed her hand, cold and limp, her pulse barely there. "Hold on, Naren," he whispered, his voice breaking. The cave didn't care. Its darkness crushed hope, time blurring into an endless ordeal. Cold seeped into their bones. The spare headlamp flickered and hypothermia loomed. Kael's body screamed with every move, but giving up wasn't an option. Miren's faint breaths kept him anchored. Then a distant light broke the silence. Muffled voices echoed through the cave. A rescue team, alerted by Kael's mischeck-in with a local guide, had entered Krakovska. Their headlamps cut through the gloom, their calls a lifeline. Kael shouted, guiding them to the crevice. The rescuers descended, their ropes and harnesses a stark contrast to Kael's frayed setup. But the crevice was treacherous, steep, slick, and littered with loose stones. Miren's condition was critical, her pulse weak, her skin icy, her wounds worsened by the cold. The rescue was a battle against the cave itself. Every tug on the ropes risked dislodging sharp rocks, every move a gamble. Kael, freed from the rope, climbed alongside, pushing past exhaustion. Blood and sweat stung his eyes, but he didn't falter. Miren needed him. Patain reached the bat chamber, but hope was fleeting. Miren's injuries were severe. Broken bones, internal bleeding, and hypothermia had taken hold. The rescuers stabilized her as best they could, but the cave's remoteness meant hours until proper care. Kael held her hand, his apologies drowned by the crackle of radios. The journey out was grueling, the cave fighting their escape through its narrowing paths. Kael stumbled, his strength fading, but clung to Miren's stretcher. Each step, a silent plea. Emerging into the Slovenian night, the stars felt cruel, a reminder of a world nearly lost. Medics rushed Miren to an ambulance, their faces grim. Kael followed, battered and numb. In the hospital, sterile lights and hushed voices blurred together. He sat by her bed, holding her hand, willing her to fight. But the cave had taken too much. Miren's injuries worsened by cold and delay, or too severe. She slipped away, her breath fading like a whisper in the dark. His camera, still slow across his chest, held images he couldn't face. Bats in flight. A fleeting beauty now stained with loss. Krakovska Jama stood silent, its bats dancing their timeless dance, indifferent to love or dreams. The cave didn't choose its victims. It simply waited for those who ignored its rules. Nature is unforgiving, its lessons carved in stone. Preparation, experience, and caution aren't just tools. They're survival. Kael's story is a haunting reminder. To venture into the unknown is to risk everything. What do you think? Could Kael have saved Miren, or was the cave always going to win? Share your thoughts below.